go.
Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Open Discourse Podcast with me, your host, Jonas Hallgren.
And
I
me.
am the creator of the Discourse
Okay,
community,
thank you for
and
interrupting me.
my special friend here
Thank you.
is called Abbe Tandal, also
Very
known as
appreciated.
Manikas online.
Okay, that was very cool.
Yep,
I'm not special in that way, but,
Yeah.
but thank you anyway.
you're very special to me.
Okay.
All right, yeah, but so what we're here to do today is to discuss some
How sad it is
no,
that according to Aristoteles, iron has no soul. It's very sad.
I gotta look this up to be honest.
Yeah, like everything else has a soul, but iron does not have a soul.
Why?
It's just very sad.
What
They
is
had to
even?
spec-
How does he even define a soul? What?
No, but he has like it's like very cool. It's like three types of souls, but iron has none. None. It even specifies as iron has no legs, and that's also sad.
Like imagine if you're called Iron, huh? How would
Huh?
you feel then? You're just
Yeah,
like forced to have no legs. I
yeah.
mean,
You're like you're basically a redhead because you have no soul.
I
No
can see it
legs.
here. What is this?
Yeah, it's like his. That's like
Man.
his how he defines like how cool something is, and of course humans are on top, and then like at the bottom is iron for some reason.
I think
That's got to be like the most underappreciated thing ever.
I mean,
For real.
there's iron in
Like,
humans. Can you see the
that's true.
irony here?
Oh,
All right.
oh no, you didn't. Oh,
No, but actually, okay, thank you. We have some builders around here, and by that I mean my dad. I don't know what he's doing. Okay, so.
what?
Uh,
Is he just building stuff?
he's just like fucking thudding on the wall. I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna go into like talking about some interesting things, and today I thought we were gonna make the episode about AI and how we look at the future and like dilemmas with the future. And let me start off by asking you, Abu, what is your current view of the future? What do you think? Where do you think we're going?
How far in the future? Like 30 years or 50 years or 100 years?
Well, we can do like different things. So, what do you believe in 30 years in the future, 100 years, and then 1,000 years, right?
Ooh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So let's start with 30 years then.
Okay, what 30 is? Well, obviously I think if we were discussing AI, I think that would be
No, but we
like
can do
more.
future in general, with like
Okay.
climate change and
Yeah.
everything like that.
Well, I think that like technology or what you're supposed to call it, like phones and yeah, AI and stuff will be a like much more integrated part of
Mm.
of our
Society. Yeah,
yeah,
I
of our
see what you mean.
normal life. Yeah,
'Cause-
because well today we think it is like that, but I think that like there's a lot more to it. What is to say? I think that the like in future it will be even more. We will be even more like depending on these sorts of technologies, and I think that just 30 years from now it will be a huge difference.
Do you think it's negative or positive? What consequence can you see like from this? That
Yeah,
the more
but
dependent
I
on
think that
technology?
like since we always have to develop in some way, I don't really think that we should see it as.
Either
I think
thing.
it's best if we see it as something positive because um, otherwise we come to a point where we think that we should not develop anymore, and then what? Should we just like stop?
But what if we
I
what if we stop? Why can't we just stop?
stop develop. I know that then it in a way it becomes a bit pointless because then we're just there and not really doing anything. Right now, at least it feels like as we're going somewhere, um,
But
as there's like something that we're supposed to do.
yeah, okay. But the thing is, right, so then you're saying that this gives us, by actually developing things, we get some kind of sense of meaning. Why can't we just develop arbitrary goals that give us a sense of meaning instead?
Well, we can, but we haven't, and
Can't
that
these
that
be seen as arbitrary goals, like technology? But it's just like good arbitrary goals, if you know what I'm saying. Like they're actually
uh,
there because they're working, you know.
like, can you give an example?
Well, for example, like if we're working towards something like a technological breakthrough,
Yeah,
it's most probably that's the thing too. Most probably, but it's most probably not gonna happen that we're gonna extend our life to infinite, like an infinite
no,
amount of like life, because that's just not how the universe works, you know.
yeah,
Because we're probably like everything, all the matter is probably gonna get ripped apart
yeah, yeah,
um, in the end. So then that means that if we're working towards something technological,
yeah.
then it all depends on what kind of values we have as like underlying the development of something, you know. And what is
Like the reasons for
yeah,
it, or
exactly, like why are we actually developing technology? Can't we do things in a better
yeah,
way? Because like the modern the general modern philosophy, it's a bit like, I think the one that you're expressing, that we're supposed to leave something behind, you know. We
yeah,
want to leave something behind for the next generation. We want to make everything better. But one thing I've thought about a lot is how can you even define time? Like, because if we want to make something better, right, then we
yeah,
look ahead in the future. If
yeah,
we look ahead in the future, this means that we want to make things better for the future self, because that's how we evolved, right? But
yeah,
by doing that, we're also always looking forward to something further in time. And
yeah.
then it comes to this point, like with all these nihilistic people that live today. I think a lot of like the it's 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 some kind of it's some kind of made up meaning that we all seek to find. That's like the main argument of a lot of philosophers. But then I think like no, for example Nietzsche or like people like that had a nihilistic like view of the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like they define time as something that always like keeps on ticking. But like, and well, whatever value we can extract is always in moments further away in time. But what I've thought about is like, well, we can't even define time.
Uh-huh.
The best definition we have is just the movement of the clocks, you know. It's just
Yeah.
time is just motion of atoms. It just describes motion of atoms and what happens to atoms when they're charged like ahead. And according to some physics, like time could be changed because time is very correlated with like things called like chirality and other weird like quantum physical stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, how can we even, how do we even define time? How can we even define time as a value metric? You see,
Yeah.
so what I think we have to look at, what I'm trying to get at, is that if we look at things that are not like time, that don't depend on time, or value metrics shouldn't
Oh
depend on
yeah.
something that has to do with time, because we
Okay, so we
cannot
shouldn't we
define
should
time.
okay, so we shouldn't look for like a goal in the future because the future is irrelevant
Exactly.
in a way. Okay, so but how do you what's your proposition of how we should work towards a goal?
No, but
Uh,
that's the thing, right? So either it might be about this. Well, then we go again into like the values here, right? And then I feel like
what?
the value, like sorry,
You made like a noise when you said it.
sorry, no, but what I mean is like, if we go into the values of actually doing things, you know, because it's about as Daniel Kahneman in his like Thinking Fast and Slow, or no, I
Yeah.
don't think it wasn't that. It might have been in Behave or some other book I've read. They're talking about we have a past, we have a future sense of ourselves that we work
Yeah.
for, and we have a current sense of ourselves that we like live for, the current moment we live, and the like the thing that has made us successful in the future, like has made is that we can give up things in the present for things in the future by, for
Yeah.
example, working and doing things like that. But what I'm saying is that by doing that, you don't live right now, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
this live right now every moment thing. But then again, it comes also into this what gives you the most satisfaction, like not the most satisfaction, maybe the most meaning at the moment.
Yeah.
So because then it comes down to defining what values should we actually have as a human species to try to like go towards, you know?
Yeah.
What values do you believe like we should go towards? Because
Well, it has to be something. Well, that depends. So, I suppose we have to take some value that we as people like appreciate in a way.
no, but maybe like what I'm saying is in your personal sense, yeah, maybe something has to do with the people, but we can't have a democratic vote on it because demo democracy is flawed, okay? But yeah, and very because we're very susceptible to you know, things like that. So that's the
uh,
problem. But yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what
We,
do you
we
think
can't
in
we
your
can't really
opinion?
make a decision uh on what do you call it like without
An undemocratic decision. No, no, no. But what I meant is, what do you believe is the optimal way, according to you? What are the values that you want us as a species to strive for?
well, I suppose it would be some kind of selflessness in a way. Uh,
Making the day better for other people, maybe? Is that what you mean?
yeah, or like not depending on getting not depending on getting personal satisfaction to get satisfaction, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mm.
I don't have to.
Where do you want to work for others to get your own satisfaction? Is that what you mean, or do you mean like
Yeah,
not work
yeah. In a way,
for
you
daily
not necessarily have
things?
to work, but you can appreciate you can get satisfaction from appreciating what others have experienced, or uh, if they are
Seeing other
happy,
happy,
you can.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. Yeah, I see what you mean. I think that's a good one. But the thing is, then you have to do it just because you yourself want to see other people happy, right?
Yeah,
But then it's something egoistic in that too, because
yeah. So it's a bit of a paradox. I know that's a bit bothering. Because if you get if you help someone do something so you get satisfaction, then you did because you got satisfaction out of it.
hmm
So in and it's
it's a
yeah,
paradox in
yeah.
itself. But it's probably I thought of it too, and I think it's probably the best way to like go ahead with doing things. But the thing is too, you see that maybe there's like another solution to it. Like if we somehow we would somehow have to disconnect ourselves from our own emotions.
Huh?
So and basically, damn, if you're a psychopath but you help other people.
Yeah, that's interesting. You like wait, so that's like the
That's like
new
the ultimate moral dude, holy shit.
yeah
So if we
the
all
next
become
antisocial.
psychopath and help other people,
Yeah, but like if we're psychopaths, we probably won't help other people.
you have a point, but
We should make like a drug that makes you a psychopath, but also makes you want to help other people, and then
okay.
we'll solve
I
all
think that's
problems.
that's a bit hard, maybe. But yeah, no, but maybe like our values. I think That's like I like that you brought up Aristotle.
Aristotle.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he's called that.
in the beginning
Aristotle.
of the podcast, because he's a bit about this too. He has like value ethics,
Yeah.
um, and those are like to live an optimal life maybe for yourself. It's like one thing worth considering, right? Um, and or maybe it was Socrates. I'm sorry, guys, if I confuse some of these people, but you know, um, I'm an
Yeah, it was
professional amateur
Socrates.
philosopher. And
Uh,
so what I mean is that we have like he has certain values to strive after, and if we
yeah,
strive
yeah.
after those values, they are usually the ones that makes the future better, right? So by striving for those values, we usually can find meaning in our daily existence. And some people would maybe argue that meaning is better than happiness. But then again, it's up to each and every individual person to decide what is best for them. Okay? Because the only way, so here we go
Again.
again. Ah, shit, here we go again. And what I mean by that is we get to the point of where I usually get with my arguments that I have is that we have
In your
to
head.
educate people, like with myself, because I'm an
Yeah.
professional amateur philosopher,
Of course.
and so that's where I usually get with myself. You have to educate people to actually make them be able to think for themselves. That is the biggest part, I think,
Hmm.
of like actually
So
making something meaningful, because everyone has his own meaning in life. Everything is relative depending on when you perceive it, in which mood you perceive it in. Nothing is like
yeah,
objective almost. That's the thing, right? So then the important part is to actually make people realize how much they don't know and how much they are actually like susceptible to change too. Because
yeah,
I realized that for example, this is the biggest philosophical change I've made in the last year. For example, I
okay,
realized that before I believed in free will, right?
yeah,
And as I've read more and more psychology books, um, I don't really believe in free will anymore, because there is not
yeah,
so much of a place for it anymore. So what I've come to realize instead is that depending on if you believe in free will, let's take an example. If we believe in free will, right? Then we
yeah,
believe in every person's personal responsibility to do something, and that
yeah,
that we all have our own will to change something, right?
yeah,
And this is the basic stone of the entire of our entire civilization almost right now. Neoliberalism is
yeah,
based upon that every single person has his own will.
yeah,
But the thing is, it's probably most scientifically not true, which means that a lot of the things that we actually have built up, our current foundation of politics and society and like a lot of things is
yeah,
built upon that we have free will, which according to psychology, if I can claim it here, doesn't exist. Remember,
yeah,
I'm just a professional amateur philosopher
yeah.
and psychologist, so
Of
don't
course
take
you
my
are.
word for it, but yeah, I
Or
think
you can.
like for example, Robert P. Sapolsky in his book Behave, um, he
Not
explains
sponsored by.
that um, responsibility, like responsibility for our crimes, might. The thing is, if we look here, if we look at responsibility, right? Um, responsibility is, you could say, is based upon uh, that we have our own free will, right? Do you agree?
Yeah,
So our own personal responsibility is based upon that we have our free will. Let's now say that we have no free will. What happens then? Okay. If we should have no free will, then you might conclude that, oh well, since nothing is our own personal responsibility, I'm just gonna claim that, well, it was society that raised me this way, so
Yeah.
therefore I did a crime, and therefore I shouldn't get a punishment for it. But that's where you see you're wrong, because punishment is actually something that is necessary for a society to be upheld, right?
Yeah, because otherwise people would do bad things if no one
Exactly.
were punished.
But one of his logical arguments in the book Behave, very good book, I do recommend it, is that we shouldn't endorse punishment. We should just be sad, like be sad when we do it. You know, we shouldn't want we should
Sad.
no, but like we shouldn't want to punish people, because punishing
Yeah.
people is just
You killed a man. Be sad now.
no. But what I mean is that we find it righteous to punish people,
Yeah.
and you know,
If they've done something
yeah,
wrong.
if they done something wrong, but then we feel good about punishing the person. But
Yeah.
what we don't realize is that the person actually has, if there's no free will, then the person actually can't be responsible for the things he has. Like, he can be responsible because there has to be some kind of personal responsibility for society to work. So therefore he's
Yeah.
technically, but he's technically like kind of not responsible. It's like, it's a weird gray area where if
Yeah.
free will doesn't exist, then he's not technically responsible. But what I found that I felt that I thought of that I found interesting is that if you think yourself that you have a sense of personal responsibility, right? So that you believe you have a personal responsibility in every question, then right, a lot of times before you do something stupid, then your conscious system might take over, and you can say, whoa, I have my own sense of personal responsibility. I can choose to not do this, right? So
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
by thinking that you have personal responsibility, you kind of create your own personal responsibility, because you give your brain a sign
Yeah.
to flick on that you have own personal responsibility, even though
Yeah.
you don't, right?
Yeah, it would be like if you're I don't know, if you're like really drunk and you're about to do something bad, I don't know, hit someone or something, and then you just and then it would be if we say this wouldn't be like your responsibility, because you can't really what do you say, you
No,
can't
you,
really
you
think
can't really
silly.
you can't really think good. You can't really
No,
do anything
and
like
then
that.
you
Yeah, I
just
get what you mean.
suddenly realize what you're about to do.
Yeah.
Then if you do it, you obviously did something bad.
Mm.
But if you didn't have that moment of realization, then it's a bit more unclear if you really did something bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I understand.
And what I maybe came to like think of now is that if I'm just gonna introduce two characters for you, okay? This is a
Okay.
really nice way that
Okay. What's their names?
that Daniel Kahneman in Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm just gonna
Okay.
I'm just gonna name drop a lot of books to seem
Yeah,
more
yeah.
credible,
Yeah,
because I'm a
hopefully
professional
Daniel Kahneman.
amateur psychologist
Yeah.
and
Please give us
philosopher.
money. We really need it.
Yeah, and so the intuitive system, the one that makes all the intuitive decisions, the one that, like, if we perceive something, we just get the snap thing, like, and we're not conscious about it at all. We don't think about it. We just do. That's the intuitive system one, right? And the more conscious, more in the back side of your head, the one that you actually think of, your conscious, that is your system two. So if we could make a philosophical distinction, even though there isn't a real distinction. The system one, system two doesn't exist. It's just different parts of the brain to make it seem more realistic, right? In a way. So if you're what we could do maybe is the ultimate sense of righteousness is that if we look at the actual brain, and you can look at which part of the brain actually gets activated during like the person that's committing a crime, then we can see if there's actually conscious thought involved or if it's just intuitiveness. And if there's conscious thought involved while he's doing the crime, we can see that, oh yeah, his system 2 has kicked in, right? Then he's actually probably able to do something about it. but then he
Okay.
chooses to not do anything about it, and that means he's responsible for the crime. So maybe if his system 2 doesn't kick in, then he might not be responsible for the crime because he hasn't actually he hasn't actually been aware and have been able to make a conscious decision about the crime.
Oh, so then we can actually, if we could do this, then we can like actually see, not really intent, but more like, yeah, if they chose to do it.
Exactly, that's the thing, right? But the problem is then we would have to create a pretty brutal police state where we can like look at every person's inner brain
Yeah, that's like
function.
every dystopian movie ever. So,
Big Brother sees you.
yeah.
There's problems with that too, but
Yeah.
I don't know, and the problem I've found is that without I don't know, cause like if you do, there's no free will. If we take it to there's no free will, and without this personal responsibility thing that you can come up with yourself, because then the most ethical way to do something is then actually communism.
Okay. I see where this is going.
Oh,
This is not
sorry.
coming.
No, but so that is the problem, right? So I think I was a hardcore like anti-communist person, like, because there's some things that in communism you take from people that aren't necessarily like good people, you know. No, that doesn't. That's not what I meant. You take from richer people, right? So you take things away from people that have actually earned it for themselves. So here we go. Here we see a distinction between, well, if you've earned it for yourself, how did you earn it? Why did you earn it? And then you can look at, well, this person's upbringing was better than the other person's upbringing. But the thing is that even though that one person's upbringing was better than the other person's upbringing, it might mean that he himself as well has put in some work. You see, because I think that's a problem with communism too. That work is not endorsed, right?
Yeah.
So since work is not endorsed, it's not a good system, because a lot of things require work, you know, and and there's a lot of things that communism just doesn't endorse that capitalism does better, and like mixed between so the optimal thing is probably a mix between capitalism and communism. As usual, it's the golden path, you know. But back to the future. What do you think things will look like in 100 years?
Okay. Well, I think that you have become the world leader and have established a sort of communism, and now you're in charge of everyone's lives, and it's pretty creepy.
Big Brother sees you.
Yeah, Jonas sees you.
Don't worry, guys. I'm just a professional amateur psychologist, philosophist, and world ruler now.
Yeah.
Not now, but in the future, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that I think that the world will be more unified in a way.
Why?
I just see it as a trend in a way. I think that you know a lot of like the things that we see that like differs us is mostly culture, or religion and stuff like that. And I think maybe not in 100 years, but I don't know, 200 years, 250 or something. As we see how globalization and stuff, we can travel across the world. I think that our cultures will be like merged to like a more global culture, or what you should call it. Which gives
globalization will continue, basically.
Yeah, and then in 100 years or something, then we will be more like a unified, like the whole world is a country. Uh,
Well, I
in
mean,
a way.
yeah, that is certainly like that is a perspective you can take. And it's mostly, I think it's mostly correct, right? Because there's a lot of factors that's leading towards that right now. But then
Yeah,
again, there's some other factors that lead against it. For example, nationalism is on the
yeah,
upbringing again,
yeah. But I
and
think isn't that more
and
of like a short? Okay, maybe I shouldn't be too early about this, but isn't that more like of a
no, but you're a
short-term
professional
uprising?
amateur politician, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Naturally, come on, guys. Nationalism won't stay. It just go away if we just ignore it. Uh,
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm not
yeah, and
creating a
communists will not come back,
yeah,
right, Jonas?
I'm not creating a super state of absolute terror and dystopian fucking future.
No, no, no.
No,
Of course not.
that's not me. And no, but I believe so too. And but the thing is too, there's also, for example, global warming.
Yeah,
It's on the
yeah. I've
rise.
just ignored that actually in my predictions.
Okay, yeah. So.
I'm just hoping someone will solve that. Please.
All right. All right. Elon Musk, please. Thank you. All right.
Please save the world. Thank you.
So, if anyone of you feels like saving the world and solving the global emissions problem and
Yeah.
the global environmental problem, then just go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Contact us first.
Yeah.
So we can have you on the podcast and you can tell
Yeah.
the
Tell us the
world.
idea, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's just for publicity for your idea, not to get us famous or anything like that.
No.
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 But I think so too. And I think it's interesting where we're also going with like things like optimization and where we'll actually be in like you said, in 30 years our technology will actually have like it will be a lot bigger part of our lives. And the
Yeah.
thing is, I think you're definitely correct in that because
Of course,
as we
I'm
can
a professional
yeah,
amateur.
yeah.
I mean,
Of
amateur
course,
professional.
we're professional amateurs of like everything,
Yeah, and I'm of science and political stuff.
Name a goddamn science, I will be the professional amateur in that shit, okay? You know,
Okay,
I have I
pornology.
I don't even know what you said. No.
I don't know actually if that. Wait, I can just Google random stuff. Maybe I
Okay,
should.
no, we don't have to. Okay, alright. Oh, no, wait. What I was gonna say is that there's a lot of big data algorithms and a lot of things like online that just does everything better for you. Like,
Yeah.
I found this out during a website. There's a lot of like already made templates to make everything a lot easier, which means that there are some futures in mind, right? So there's one
Yeah.
future where we're like we almost become cyborgs, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about this, you can Yuval Noah Harari's books about like Homo Deus, Homo sapiens, and things like that. They are really good. I would definitely
Okay.
recommend them. Also,
Not
I'm ju-
advertising here.
no. I'm just doing book tips that I based like the things I say about. So my some of my reasoning comes from this place too because there's like these big data algorithms, for example. If if imagine now, okay,
Okay.
but if you could make something yourself, okay, let's say you're searching for a romantic partner, right?
Okay.
And now you could look for yourself at for a romantic partner. You could just browse random people on the web, not
Yeah.
in real life, but
Okay.
all
That
right,
was-
no, and like you could try to find matches. But what if you had these robots that had biometric data of yourself, right? So
Oh
that
damn.
they would know what is the best match for you in the future, what will make you the most
Ah.
happy, or what will give you the most valued criteria that you have.
Yeah.
So this would mean that you might have matching robots, like romantic robots that speak with each other, like to find the optimal mate for the other person.
Yeah.
So imagine that instead of you actually going to find some girl that you like, you just send your robot to talk with
Damn.
the other person's robot, and then you can find actually the most optimal relationship.
This is
That
some high-tech Tinder shit.
Yeah, right. So this would work a lot better than like normal ways of dating. But that's the thing. You see, it just effectivizes everything we have, right? So
Yeah.
all these algorithms, they just make everything better than we already have them right now. This
Yeah.
means that, well, in almost every single like tech or like a lot of things, we might like if we just continue this way, we will just get like our roles that we have to do gets overtaken by algorithms. And like for example, in economics, like trading bots are a lot better than humans at
Yeah.
seeing patterns. That's why trading bots are almost used all the time right now. So everything might just go into one big data algorithm that controls everything, while we just live here, so that we
Yeah.
can actually get controlled by the algorithms. I'm gonna have to sneeze, so you no, I don't have to sneeze. When you say you
Okay.
have to sneeze, it's like a paradox, you know? Or maybe I'll have to sneeze, who knows?
Yeah.
But
Talking about robots controlling our future. Yeah.
hell yeah. But yeah, so and what we can see here too is that there might be a if let's imagine this scenario, okay? So
Okay.
imagine that you have $300 to spend on a love robot. You want to spend 300
Oh.
bucks on a love
Yeah.
robot algorithms.
Obviously.
Yeah, right. Obviously, who wouldn't want to do that? So then you spend
Yeah. Just 300
$300,
bucks.
or you spend 1% of your income on love robot algorithms, right?
Okay. So that's
So,
zero or what? No.
but
Uh,
then imagine that a person that's a million times richer than you,
oh
he
yeah.
spends 1% of his
Yeah.
thing
That's a bit more.
on love robots. So that's a bit more, right? So then he gets a
Yeah.
better love robot than you do, which
Yeah.
means that he gets more matches, he gets better things, and this will cause a bigger divide in society between normal people who cannot afford these algorithm things. So this means that
Oh.
how are they gonna survive, huh? They
Oh.
might just live on like socialbidrag, as this is known in Swedish, and like money from the government basically. And
Yeah.
that is a problem, right? Because then how would they find meaning? It would just be a bigger and bigger divide between rich people and poor people, because the rich people can afford things, and then we can't do much because the algorithms are in charge.
Yeah.
And
Uh.
for example, the like, because here we see that this is a huge danger too if we let the algorithms in charge, okay? So if we look at the politicians, right? A
Yeah.
lot of voting, if we look at, for example, I think it's like Texas and the Midwestern states. If
Yeah.
we look at, and or just like in USA in general, lower educated people, like a lower, like if you're less educated than other people, then and you're not interested in politics at all, then
No.
you're like what you think of what your values are don't affect you as much. Like if you compare your values to the politician that you're voting for, it doesn't
Yeah.
affect you as much as if you compare the facial features of the different politicians and who's actually the most like, it's just who's the most handsome guy
Yeah.
that is there,
Yeah.
you know?
That's why Trump won.
Yeah,
I think
exactly, because
that's
he's
the
the
sole
most
reason why
handsome
Trump won.
guy, you know? If I could have
Yeah.
his children, I would definitely take him. This is not a threat. I just want to say that.
It's
I'm not
just
gonna
pure
take
love.
Donald Trump's children, all right, CIA, don't worry.
Yeah.
Um,
I can see the
but no, I
headlines
am
like
a
communist
professional.
maniacs kidnaps president children.
I am a professional amateur kidnapper, though.
Oh yeah. So
I
it would
haven't
be
done it,
a
but
successful killer. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just a friendly psychopath. I'm your neighborhood psychopath. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Uh,
but you do things to help others, so
yeah,
it's okay.
it's fine. Um, no, but this means that in the future, right, our
Yeah.
algorithms they could just they could just like imagine that you have a very rich politician,
Yeah. Donald Trump,
Donald
for
Trump,
example.
and imagine that he has almost unlimited funds to um, manipulate people's psychological will to do what he wants.
Yeah.
So the thing is, right, we are probably, I think this is happening today too. We are getting more and more lured into the psychological traits that we fall for as a human species. Because, for example, you see a lot of online marketing is that way, and
Yeah.
that's also one of the things I'm trying to learn. So this is also why it's good if you continue to listen to these podcasts that we will do, and also look at the forum, because we will teach you about like these things that don't seem obvious but you're affected by, and it's very important to do that because otherwise other like big companies can just manipulate you to doing whatever you want to, even they
Yeah.
want you to do, even though you might think that you want it anyway, because that's just the way your intuitive system works. It just adds like things. Oh, this is a good thing. We associate this with another good thing, and then just like they can manipulate you without you even noticing it, and that's the
Yeah.
scary
Uh,
part with like the future we're heading towards right now. Because without critical thinking, without like philosophy, without people actually taking time to educate themselves, people would just become brainwashed. For example, in North Korea, or for example in the communist states, and things like
yeah, but
that.
but also like for example, the Cambridge Analytica scandal. That was a bit about this because, well, the whole thing is that they have done this kind of algorithmic stuff to in a way brainwash wash people. Uh,
Was it?
into Yeah, the I can see here. They collect the data. Uh,
Yeah, I can just.
yeah, we can.
Uh, yeah. Had also
Uh,
been millions of people's Facebook posts about their consent and used it for political advertising purposes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They look like people's
Yeah, but
patterns.
exactly, it's already happening today. A lot of the effects of the modern, like, of what a future might hold for us are already happening today, which makes sense. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still very scary that this is actually what we might could be going towards, and what you see as well, you might, oh well, this is just a romantic life and political life, I can just live on my life like normal otherwise anyway. But no, you
yeah,
can't. There will probably be like biometric scanners that tell you what to eat, when to sleep, when to do things, that so that everything is optimized for you, so that you basically almost have to do nothing in your life. But that might also be a good thing. I would actually like to have it that way almost, because then you can actually get time to do things that are important for you, and
yeah,
and like think about stuff that they can, like robots cannot think about. So in a way, this might also be like a way into a symbiotic state between nature, humans, and robots, like algorithms and things like that, because they will just optimize the way we think about things,
yeah.
and
I've also heard that like prediction with the symbiosis thing about with like humans and yeah, and the computers and robots, and like yeah, a bit this cyborg thing that you were talking about.
mm, well, yeah, I'm not just necessarily talking about cyborg thing. This is just like one of the things where maybe big data algorithms take over, but then we can go into the cyborg thing as well, with like maybe not necessarily cyborg thing, but with like genetic manipulation and things like that.
Yeah.
because that can also imagine what do you think what can happen if we actually can modify humans in any way? What do you think would happen to poor people and rich people?
Okay, and assuming that we use this
We can almost genetically manipulate anything at all to a
yeah,
cost, to a certain cost, okay?
certain costs. Okay, so then we again get the thing you were talking about with this like help is being more available to rich people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so well, I guess the rich would get better genes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's a bit the same thing. But then also we like in a way because if we have no limits, then there must be like some kind of like superhuman that is like the best, the de facto best
Mm.
human that can be, and then I guess everyone would like to be or have their children be like that. So everyone would just be the same, uh, unless there's like more video game fashion where you can be good at this, but then you're bad at this.
Mm.
But that depends on like the limits for this genetic altering thing.
I think it's, yeah, that is true. So what I think is it's like it will be a divide between humans, like we will almost divide humans into different species,
Yeah.
like Hitler tried to do, but actually,
Uh-huh. Is this some propaganda again?
this is not
Please don't.
this is not
Don't get us shut
propaganda.
down. It's just the first
This is
episode.
not. I don't endorse that. Okay. All right. What I was just saying is that Hitler.
Don't. Please don't.
It's the logical. It's his logical conclusion of everything that we should that not necessarily that, but that we should divide people, like that the people are gonna get divided. If we divide people into different races that have differently what I was just trying to show is that this future is like a nightmare, a nightmare that's basically around what Hitler tried to do, like to put people in different standings, social standings, depending on
Yeah.
if they're it was their whatever their religion or their ethnicity, whatever
Yeah.
it was he tried to do.
Their level
And
of German.
yeah, exactly. And if we this might be what's going to happen if we just let people get divided into rich and poor. And maybe it's a bit of that today too, but we can't really say that, because the like it's not the same thing at all. It's not the same thing at all. But in the future, if we actually get people that are genetically superior to other people, and we
Yeah.
will divide ourselves into races. And I don't know. It's not morally correct, in a way, because
No, but that depends.
not based on our own principles, because we believe that every human is worth the same, but then different people would be worth differently.
Yeah, but that also like is a bit interesting with if we had like a group in society that were these like superhumans,
Mm.
then you could, because they're superior and everything, you could say that they could easily like I don't know, remove everyone else if they
Mm.
want to. But the thing is, like, I don't know really what kind of moral and ethics would these kind of people have. If we say that they are like the perfect people, would we call them perfect because they have the morals that we consider to be perfect,
Mm.
or would they just have the morals
I
that
think
are
there
more?
will be psychopaths that do everything to help other people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but because that's the answer. So then they might be just some kind of, maybe that's the lizard people.
Shit.
Because it actually makes sense, because they would try to control us and try to make our lives good in like a bit of psychopathic way, but like
Yes, you do.
to make us accept it, they can't really like, be noticed and go around on the streets like normal people, so they have to hide themselves and like form these underground organizations and stuff
Like the
and be on.
Illuminati
Yeah, so
and the
maybe that
Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles. So, what do we know? Maybe that has already happened.
Maybe. Actually, we could never know. That's a weird
Yeah,
thing. Maybe
but
we're a part of it.
well,
Shut up.
let's ignore that for a moment.
All right, we'll be back with a short break after a short break. Hi guys, I'm the replacement for Jonas. All right. Yeah. No, I don't think we are helpful psychopaths.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
I'm just a
Well, I
psychopath.
do, but okay. Well, I'm not a helpful psychopath.
The studies have shown that every third person is a helpful psychopath. I'm not a helpful psychopath.
I'm not a helpful psychopath. Yeah, that's top 10 comedy, I would say.
Yeah, I'm actually a professional amateur comedian.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
On my work in free time.
Yeah, the one between 12 and 13.
Exactly.
That time you're a professional amateur comedian.
Exactly.
Amateur professional, I mean.
I'm also a professional masturbator.
Okay. That we didn't have to know that, you know. Like
No,
there's some
I'm not a
information.
professional amateur masturbator. I'm just a professional masturbator.
Okay. I do not want to know where you get your funds from.
I've set a couple of world records, you know. So
Oh.
if you want to see them, you might as well go into like Pornhub/lesbian. Yeah.
Oh. So you're there a lot?
No, I'm from Thailand. That's why.
Oh. But isn't that like another category?
No.
Maybe
What
you
I
should
meant
have
what I
that.
meant is that it's a trap, you know.
Oh, yeah, I
Oh,
get it.
yeah. But it's a reverse trap.
Yeah, because you actually like it.
No, it's like you know a trap, but then you change everything around. So it's like the inverse of a trap, you know. You gotta
Oh,
take the inverse of the function.
a trap is like a part.
Exactly, it's a part.
It's a part.
I'm a part. Okay.
A part.
So, 1,000 years in the future, do you think we'll be able to make Dyson spheres? Do you think where do you think we will be? Do you think that
Okay, so
there will be a computer simulation of everything?
uh,
We're gonna go into that a little bit too. All right.
okay.
So
Okay.
imagine that we're in a computer simulation, right?
Yeah, I don't have to imagine. I already know.
Okay, you're the developer. Okay. No, but
Yeah, I mean it.
yeah. So imagine that we're in a computer simulation, and
Yeah.
uh, that is made by a previous civilization.
Yeah. Is
Now,
it previous civilization of humans or some other
depends.
species?
It doesn't matter. So
Okay.
what I've thought about sometimes is
But
that
I do really need to know that, you know, for background. I want to know like who created the program and stuff like that.
oh
Was
yeah,
it human or
it was
non-human?
Microsoft.
Microsoft. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah.
it might be human because like if we can create a perfect simulation of our own universe,
Yeah.
we because and yeah, so you might think, well, to create a perfect simulation of our own universe, um, so the problem is with creating a perfect simulation of our own universe, if we're
Yeah.
gonna do every atom in every second of every minute, like in the entire universe, we're just
Yes.
gonna have to um, we're gonna have to actually have something that's bigger than the universe to actually do that because it's more computing
Yeah.
power than we actually have. So what is needed then is something that simplifies it, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, what if we simulate every single person's own mind that always simplifies things down into things, right?
Yeah.
Because that is one way to think of it too. Because we as a human species, we have a limited amount of uh,
Things we can
mental
process.
power. We have like 10
Yeah.
bytes per second or something like that. If
Oh,
we
what?
yeah,
Only?
it's not high at all. If we try to
Oh,
but we have like more efficient methods. It's weird, but
okay.
I'm a professional amateur psychologist after all. So,
Yeah.
but
Slash computer
computer human man.
human engineer.
But what I was trying to say is that so what if they simple down all of our like everything in our world so that
Yeah.
we view the world from this different place, right? We view the world from our own perception. So what if
Yeah.
they make something that has a certain prerequisite like understanding of things, just to like as just in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Yeah.
where they say the answer is 42, but the question is on Earth. What if
Yeah.
what if they like simulate a lot of different worlds? They simulate 10 million worlds that are like their own.
Yeah.
So, what if they take like for example that every some person that can actually like that they known to come up with a lot of things, and then they just simulate the same person over and over again a lot of
Oh,
times
yeah.
to make him come up with new inventions in
Oh,
different
yeah. So they like
perspectives.
simulate him in a like slightly different environments.
Exactly. Just to make him um, just to make, and that might be every single person in the world, or it might just be one person,
Oh.
depending from its own view. Then you wouldn't have to, then it wouldn't have that same thing, the same amount of resources that's required. And then we also have a quantum physical phenomenon known as the holographic principle, which is very cool. And
Okay.
what the basic thing is that if we can, some consequences of quantum mechanics makes us able to, if we look at the world in a cylindrical way, according to how the world actually is probably looking right now in its like space-time geometric data. If you like think of it in a topological sense, you think of it as like a cylinder, okay?
Yeah.
Think of the world as a cylinder. It's just round, and we live in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
what the thing is that if we live in the middle of the cylinder, the universe is in the middle of the cylinder, then some certain quantum mechanical and like just physics in general, it has the consequence that we can encode the 3D data of our world by
Yeah.
using a 2D
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
surface. So this means that it requires a lot of less computational power to do this, because it's one entire dimension that we can just skip.
Yeah.
So this means that we don't it doesn't have the same amount of computing power, and this would mean that it actually would be possible to make a simulation. But you know
Yeah.
what? The coolest thing is that if we, as my physics teacher said to me once, um, imagine if every new world is created out of one little black hole, right?
Yeah.
So if what if our world is created out of a black hole?
Yeah.
Then, according to like laws of evolution, the most worlds the most amount of worlds would be created out of the worlds that create the most amount of black holes, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just naturally like that. And the thing is, our own universe creates a lot of black holes.
Yeah.
So it would be probable that in every time you're in some kind of event, um, that has a certain probability that you show up and see that the most probable state that you are in is the most probable state, right? Do you get what I
Yeah.
mean by that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So this would mean then that we're most probably in the most probable universe.
Yeah.
And if the most probable universe is one where a lot of black holes is generated,
Yeah.
then it could probably mean that every time a black hole is formed, a new world is formed, which is very cool. But again, then we come
Yeah.
to the part where the simulation is, right? So if we can create a simulation of something that is basically as complicated as our world is, but maybe not as complicated as our world is, it doesn't really matter. Then we can create. Then we know that we most probably are a simulation because we've already created a simulation. This would mean
Yeah.
that someone else before us could also create a simulation, which would mean that we're in the end the most probable. Um, we're at the probably at the most probable state, which is just midway through that simulation. So that
Yeah.
is simulation. Do you know what? This is really cool because that would mean that we create a simulation there, but then it would mean that in that simulation
Yeah.
they create a simulation.
So we're most probable to be at the like infinite stage of
Exactly. And do
simulation
you know what
creation.
that means according to time? To the
Weird stuff.
survival of the survival of the species?
I forgot that.
It's infinite, right? Because it's an
Yeah.
infinite loop.
Yeah. So it won't end really.
Exactly. So then it would mean
That's
that everything we're experiencing is just repeating itself an infinite amount of times. But then again,
yeah.
it might not be true because then you would actually have to create another world in the simulation, right? So if you create another world, then it depends on how fast the um, Ooh, well, it still could
What?
work because I thought that. So basically, what I thought first is that maybe, well, even though if we create another simulation of our own thing in the other thing, it's gonna crash if we don't what's it called?
Uh,
If the first computer crashes, then the
yeah.
next simulation is gonna crash, which would mean
Yeah.
that the cycle would break down. But thanks
Yeah.
to special relativity, for example, time
Uh-huh.
moves differently in different parts. So if we could
Yeah.
make a simulation that moves a lot faster than in our own time, then we could get a lot of good information about that from that. And this would mean that the other person's time in the next universe, it's just 100 years for themselves, but for the
Yeah.
other the other people in the thing, it might just be zero point 0.1 seconds, But
Yeah.
just by doing that, we can create infinite amounts of loops of doing that. So this would
Yeah.
mean that every single time there is actually like the new universe that's created is 100 hours in their own real time. Like not 100
Yeah.
hours, but a lifespan is 100 years in their own real time, which would mean we would create an infinite amount of lifespans because that process would just repeat and repeat and repeat itself. And this would also mean that if we create this, then we could also reap the benefits of all the technologies that all the other things would like come forward to. We could reap the benefits of.
Yeah.
And this
And
is
then we
really
also
weird. It's so fucking cool,
yeah.
because it's just like an
But wait,
infinite loop.
we just ignored this with like universe ending by by just like yeah our time continues like we have another simulation in this. So we won't really have the problem because humans will always be here because there's always more humans to be, but in reality we can't really be that long.
No, but that's the thing, right? Because now you're just looking at time as one thing, right? You're just looking at the first amount of time, but time can be changed depending on where you are in space. So this would mean that yeah,
Yeah.
actually. And I thought of something else too, but I just forgot it. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah, but
I'm a
that's what happens
professional
when you're a
amateur
professional amateur.
philosopher. Um, no, but so I think that's really cool, like with the infinite world thingy, and the thing is too, yeah, that's what I thought of. So I found this like, because I thought of this before too, like because since I'm a professional amateur philosopher, I thought of how can we transmit our conscious into a computer, and
Yeah.
then I saw a solution online, which is basically that you connect you replace a neuron at one neuron at a time.
Yeah.
So this would mean that if you replace only one neuron at a time, a lot of times, then you would still use your like the same connections that you have, and you still would have consciousness all the time that you do this. So this would mean that you
Oh,
would
yeah.
eliminate the way where your clone doesn't become like you, but it becomes like some other being just because you transfer your consciousness at the same time. So this would mean that you gradually go over into being a robot, which actually would work. So now imagine that you do this, but with another brain in the other
Oh, yeah.
simulation. So then
And
you
then you
could
could,
just go in down into the simulation holes, like it's like Inception, you know,
yeah, and
and
then
then you
you
could
could
live for
actually
like ever.
for like ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means? If we actually if we actually try to do that and create a simulation that's just the same way that we have the simulation right now, then oh, look, because we're most probably in the most probable place that
Yeah.
we can be, right?
Yeah.
Right now. So this life is the most probable life that I can have.
Yes.
Most probably.
Most probable life you can
Yeah.
probably have.
And this means that if I work to if I because I am in my own world right now, work towards that right now, and I
Yes.
make it work, then it means that it's most probable that is the most probable thing that I can do if this theory actually works. Like
Yes.
it's the
So then
most.
you will.
So if I work towards it, then I most probably will make it, and I most probably will make myself into a simulation of myself again. But then again, it depends on if this works. But that is really
Yeah.
cool, actually.
Yeah. So if this works, then you live forever.
Yeah.
Good for you. And for me. For
And for
everyone,
you,
actually.
and for everyone.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I like that view on life.
Damn. Actually, wow. Yeah, but then again, it depends on if it works or not. But that would be really cool. I think we're gonna go for like another 20 minutes or something like that, and then we'll probably like. But if we go back to some of the points we've discussed so far,
Yeah.
I think the most it's so interesting with the last one, like.
It's a bit
We,
trippy, but yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. I'm gonna have to discuss this with like an actual like physics dude because
What? What do you mean? I'm an actual physics dude.
no,
I have
you're just a
like
professional amateur
yeah.
physicist. Come on, man.
Yeah, I have like read one physics book and like I have done physics in school, so
Oh,
I'm
you're right.
something of an
I'm
expert
bad.
myself.
My bad, dude.
So come on.
No, but for real though, like this is cool, and
Yeah.
yeah,
You should go to like some physics professor's lecture and just ask this
yeah.
question and be
Don't
like
worry.
super annoying.
I'm going on like this physics camp in like a couple of weeks, then I can ask him this question.
Yeah, you can be this annoying kid who just asks a lot of like really like big questions and everyone's just like, yeah, we just want to have some fun. And you're there.
I'm legit
Yeah,
going
we're
to be
forever.
that kid because you know what I've done like the last weeks. The last week I've basically like done a lot of linear algebra to make sure that I can do like so that I can do the quantum physics that I want to do
Yeah.
before the
You're just gonna go there and flex on people.
no, but I really want because I can finally get questions answered, and I want to get as many questions as I possibly can answered at the same time by like real physicists that actually have time, not like my teacher, Maurits. Give me more time to get my questions, please. God damn it. All right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I actually
so
asked my physics teacher like 100 questions, but he didn't answer one of them.
no, it's
Yeah, that
sad.
was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
even
have
though
any
mine were.
questions? You can after this you can
Yeah.
tell me questions that I should ask
Okay,
now.
I have one now. Imagine you're going to you're having a tennis racket and you're going to hit a tennis, and then you apply, then you like apply, then
Haven't
you
we
apply
had this
force
discussion before?
to the tennis ball. But what if the tennis ball is bigger than you? Does that mean the tennis ball applies force to you? Yeah, that's right. That's what
No.
I asked my physics teacher, and he didn't answer.
Wow, that makes Why didn't he answer? That's such a good question.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right, yo, but and so what I wanted to get to here, there's also a point to every story because I'm a professional amateur storyteller,
Yeah.
and so I'm actually just gonna introduce myself as the professional amateur uh, in the future, but
Yeah, because you're a professional amateur future.
that's right.
And a professional amateur podcast host.
No, I'm just
Yeah, you're just a burp. A professional amateur
I'm
burp.
sorry, guys.
That's what you are.
But what I wanted to say is that you should note everything down, okay? Because the world is very
Oh,
confusing.
okay,
And
too late, I guess.
no, but like, if if you remember some parts of this podcast, for example, you can note those things down. If you find something that's interesting in here, maybe
Yeah,
questions that you have for future reference, you can also ask us questions down in the comments. And what you see, like, because by doing that, that is the way we have effectivized everything, right? Since writing came down, we have, since writing, we have gained so much knowledge in our shared knowledge, you know? Because a
yeah.
lot of the knowledge we have is actually shared knowledge, as some guy discusses in the knowledge illusion. It's on Storytel, and you
Okay.
should check it out now. Since I'm a professional amateur book, I recommend books, but I'm not
Book
sponsored
reviewer.
by the books. It's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, we should be sponsored though, so we can get money from it.
yeah, we should. But yeah. So what the cool thing is that a lot of the things we do are like based on shared knowledge, and everything is so complicated these days that if we walk around and trying to remember everything all the time, then you're just gonna get your mind diluted by things that you always try to remember, and then you always forget those things. You always forget a lot of things that you shouldn't have forgotten, which is why noting everything down is so important, like all the time, because I realized that since I have a fuck ton of notes that I don't read, but I should read them from time to time,
Yeah.
of like things that I really want to do. And the thing is, I'm very happy that I've started actually taking notes of basically everything. So if you have a dream, note it down. Note everything down that's thought worthy, because then you don't have to remember it, which means that you free up mental space to actually think about other things, which I have since I am a professional amateur philosopher. And
Yeah.
I think
That's the
Abba
key.
has too. Do you have anything interesting you want to talk about, Abba?
No, since you didn't give me any preparation time, then I don't have any. The iron thing was actually my thing, so that was pretty
It
interesting.
was pretty interesting. You're correct. Great about
Yeah.
that. Ja, nej. Nu räcker det. Nej. All right. But yeah, my throat kind of hurts, so we're gonna end it around here. I think it was a fruitful discussion that went
Yeah.
over. We started with Aristotelian thinking, value
No.
ethics, and what is the
Yeah.
actual value that we should have. We maybe never
Yeah.
answered that, but we came to the conclusion that environmentally
Like.
friendly, like socially adept, and like nice psychopaths. That's what we need,
Yeah.
because
Nice.
those are the best moral machines.
Yeah. So the superhumans we talked about later, that they are the nice psychopath.
They are the nice psychopaths, and also what we did afterwards, after that, is talk about the future and like algorithms, a bit of like dystopia, how I'm gonna make a communist super state, right?
Yeah, normal
What else
things.
did we talk about? We talked about some
Yeah, we did.
some poly states and things like that.
Yeah, and then we came into this, the simulation things.
Yeah. But I think we did something more before that. We
Yeah.
talked about like the algorithmic way that we could do
Yeah,
things,
we
and
talked about algorithms controlling our lives.
yeah, and how it's important to actually like stay critical. It's the most important skill that you can have these days, because it makes you flexible to new offers and new jobs and new life opportunities that things might take away from you. Because we live in a very, very vital like society. We live in a society that's it's very unsure what's going to happen in the future, and
Yeah.
so make sure that you stay curious and you try to learn and try to be critical to everything. That is very important, and then you can have really fun discussions like I had,
Yeah,
and
we
come up
had.
with
You mean?
I had a fun
We had,
discussion. You might have also had a fun discussion.
yeah, we had fun.
I don't really care since I'm a professional amateur
But hey, aren't you supposed to be a
psychopath.
caring psychopath?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't care,
You
but you
don't.
do
I
stuff
don't care, but
but you're
I
nice
pretend
anyway.
to care. I'm nice anyway.
Yeah.
And but then you can come forward with conclusions that are very cool in the most probable sense. Imagine that this is the most probable thing that you're listening to this right now. Good thing to think about.
Yeah, because this is so good, so it's most probable that you will be enjoying
Listening
yourself.
to it again. Am I right?
Yeah.
All right. This is it
So
from the Open Discourse Podcast. Um, check out our site, the Discourse community, the dccy.com. And remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and stay tuned for more updates in our podcast series for more weird shit like this. We might take in some other people to talk about it too. But I think this was it from me, Jonas Hallgren. And do you have any last words, Abbe?
can we get an F for iron?
Let's get an FE for Iron, boys. Yeah, I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.